AITA for how I reacted to my husband's ex-wife's girlfriend buzzing my stepson's hair? Concluded. Mood spoiler. Things are looking okay, though still some difficulties. This is a throwaway and all names have been changed. To explain the relationships here, I, 30F, married my husband, Alex, 31M, about a year ago, but we've been together for 4 years. He was previously married, and after they had agreed to divorce, she told him she was pregnant. We'll call his ex Kate, 30F. Kate had been cheating on Alex with Jess, 32F, for about a year. I had known Alex for years through mutual friends, and I met his son when he was 6 months old. So present day, Kate and Jess are together still, but very hot and cold. I went to pick up my stepson from school. Jess had dropped him off, and he seemed quiet and sad. I asked him what was wrong, and he said he was sad because he had no hair. He has beautiful curly hair. He told us he wanted to grow out into a mullet. At that time, my husband cleared it with his mom that they were both okay with that, and she agreed to have me trim it as needed, like around his ears. He took his hat off and it was buzzed down to his scalp. I was shocked but just said, "Well, I think you look very handsome, but I thought you wanted to grow it out. Why did you cut it?" Apparently Jess was going to trim it and forgot to put a guard on. When she realized that, it was too late and she had to buzz it. When we got home, I called Kate. She didn't know how bad the haircut was and was tied up at a work event. She suggested I make sure I get the whole story on what happened, so with her permission I went right to Jess after I called my husband, who was driving home from a couple hours away, and explained what was going on. So I called Jess, asked to verify what he said and tell her how upset he was. She said that is exactly what happened but didn't see why it was such a big deal. She kept saying I'm overreacting and it's just hair, so I tried to explain that as a kid there's so much he doesn't get a say in, so it was a big deal to him. I told her she should never go near his head with clippers again. She came back with, "Well, you're not his mom," and when I reminded her she wasn't either, she said, "I'm a hell of a lot closer than you. I've been there since day one," to which I said, "Yeah, because you were an affair partner. Don't cut his hair again," and hung up. I called my husband back to explain everything and calm down. He had been on the phone with Kate discussing things as well, and I texted Kate to give an overview and say I was sorry if I overreacted. It's the next day and Jess is trying to tell Kate I shouldn't be allowed to cut his hair if she can't, and I need to get my parenting privileges taken away. I think that's crazy. And just to clarify my role as a step-parent, Kate and my husband meet twice a year alone to discuss parenting things, and at the last one Kate said she is comfortable with seeing me as a parent and is ready to include me in the meetings going forward. But AITA for being upset with Jess for not only buzzing his hair but for how she reacted trying to minimize it. Some of OP's comments. AITA, commenter. I'm going to say you're NTA, but your husband and Kate should be handling these things. If I was in your shoes, I would have done the same though. When you break it down, you and Jess are each just partners to his parents, and they should be the ones taking care of these things. He's not an object to take away from people and to fight over. Not sure how Kate didn't see her son's hair before anyways. OP. Kate was at work already. That's why she didn't see it. And my husband was driving on his way back from a work offsite, which is why I picked him up. Kate and my husband don't communicate very well, part of the divorce, so about 2 years ago the three of us talked and agreed that it made sense for me and Kate to communicate pretty regularly. It works for us, not for everyone. And Kate agreed that especially after we got married, I do get a say in how he's raised. Not as much as her and my husband, of course. Commenter. I love that you'll have a relationship where she's okay for you to step into the mom role and advocate for her son, but, and this is just my personal opinion, it ain't my business. I think using the step-parent as a go-between for the actual parents is super messy. If it works for you, I'm happy for you. Every situation is different and that's 100% okay. I just think it's a really fantastic way to cause issues in the long run. OP. That's fair, we talked a lot about it and the majority of our conversations happen within a co-parenting app so everyone can see and respond. Like a specialized group chat. First it was just Alex and Kate, but they agreed together to add me in there as well. We have lines drawn in our communication that help us. The mullet. We were actively respecting his wishes. He saw someone with a mullet, said he wanted to grow his hair like that. So Alex texted Kate and said, "He wants a mullet? Any objection?" She said nope. Like 2 weeks later I texted her and asked, "Are you okay with me shaping his hair a little around the ears for his mullet?" And she said yes. To a downvoted comment accusing OP of not comforting him and making him feel better. I did do a lot to help him, but did not list it all in this post because it's not what I was asking about. I told him he is so handsome. We talked about how to handle it if kids at school say anything. I got him some temporary hair color spray and made some stencils so he could pick a fun design if he wanted. His dad shaved his head as soon as he got home. But one night doesn't fix his feelings, so yeah, he was still sad when he went to school because he's learning about handling his feelings. OP is voted NTA. Update post. Same day, 7 hours later. I ended posting this in a couple places, so I figured I'd put one update on this account for anyone who goes through the effort to check for one. My husband talked to Kate about why Jess would do that and react how she did while he was driving home. Kate admitted she has noticed Jess asking questions about what I do and saying little digs at me around their son. Like he will tell a story from our house and she'll find a way to say something negative about me. She lightly called her out on this one time and Jess had a really negative response. Kate and my husband were going to meet tomorrow to talk about it, but Kate called me very upset saying they got in a fight. She doesn't have a lot of family, so this isn't the first time she has called me needing someone to talk to that knows the whole dynamic. I said she could come over and talk about it if she wanted and she took me up on it. So she came over, we all played Hot Wheels for a bit. Seeing their son obviously helped calm her down, and then I took him to the playroom while Alex and Kate talked. Apparently Jess is tired of not being treated like as much of a parent as me in her eyes and cut his hair on purpose, basically to make a parenting decision that couldn't be reversed. That came out in a heated blow-up from her when Kate insisted she was okay with me cutting his hair so he could have the style he wanted since I was good at it. Some more heated words were shared and Jess gave Kate the ultimatum of treat me as good as you do her or we're done. Then she stormed off and Kate called me. Next, Kate and Alex came in and talked to their son alone and asked some gentle questions about Jess while they played. He said sometimes she yells and he doesn't like it. She has spanked him, and he wouldn't be sad if she wasn't there. We all ate dinner together so our son could see that everything was okay, and we all told him how many fun things we could do with his hair as it grows back. He will be going to a professional for cuts though. After Kate went home, my husband even buzzed his head and told our son that he thought it was so cool he wanted to match him. As of now, Kate is planning to end things for good and I sure hope it sticks. That's all I got, folks. Some of OP's comments. Commenter: personally, I don't think you should bother with a professional. His mom thinks you're good at it and it's a lovely little way for your and your son together bond. Hell, I'd make a day of it where you take care of dad's and son's hair. Family style days FTW. OP. I appreciate that. His mom did take him to a barber once and he had a miserable time, and ever since then I have been doing it, per her request actually. Doing it made her nervous and she figured hair could be something he could share with his dad's household. My husband always just cut his hair with 1 guard length. His mom did it when he was younger, he's literally never been to a barber. I got him to agree to try a different style if I did it, so I watched hours of tutorials and my amazing hairdresser even showed me some tips. It's usually bonding time for us. Then anytime I cut my husband's hair, I would cut his son's too and he got to be just like dad. Commenter: wow, she sounds like a mess. I'm sorry you and especially this boy have to deal with her. Can we all agree this kid has gone through a lot of changes and maybe it's best to try to simplify his life instead of trying to work so many new relationships into it? OP. That's fair. Kate and Alex both agreed on when I met their son because Kate didn't clear Jess being involved and they fought about that and agreed that she should have. If things are really over between Kate and Jess for good, then Alex and Kate will have to agree on the timing for any of her future partners to meet him. If things aren't over, then Alex will insist on defining new guidelines for Jess. He has already called and removed her from the school pickup list. Commenter: this is fake AF. Yeah, cause your husband is totally gonna want the woman who cheated on him coming to you with her problems like your besties. OP. Thanks to a hell of a lot of therapy, he's pretty good at separating ex-wife who cheated on me from mother of my child. And he understands that for his son's sake, he needs to support her where he can. No matter what happened between them, our house is a safe place for her. Final update post, February 20th, 2025, 2 days later. Editor's note: OP titled this Final Update. I had no intentions of posting another update, but I have gotten a lot of DMs asking if anything has changed, so here is a final update before I log out of this throwaway. Kate and Jess met to talk and I don't know everything that was said, but all I do know is that Kate then told us she would be filing for a restraining order against Jess and asked for my help because unfortunately I have had to file for one before. Then Kate and Alex met at our house and talked over what that means for their son, and that conversation turned into what my role is as a parent. Kate and Alex are now in the process of amending their parenting agreement, which frankly they said was overdue anyway because he's a toddler now and all these agreements were made when he was an infant and their divorce was really raw. They asked me if I would be comfortable being written into the agreement to have things like the ability to take him to the doctor, be a designated contact, and a next of kin if anything happens to them, etc. They will also add in guidelines for introducing future partners. A lot of commenters said I needed to back off and let the parents handle this. While there are things I for sure could have done differently, I spoke with both Alex and Kate and they both agreed they were thankful for how this happened and were glad I was the one who picked him up that day. But overall, Kate is upset. Kiddo is picking out the stencils that he wants to spray designs into his hair as it grows out. All schools and family members have been informed that Jess is no longer allowed near anyone in this family on either side, and some important conversations have been had. Ex-Stepmom feels entitled to a relationship with me after 6 years of no contact and ruining my childhood after she got in trouble with a preacher for lying. XL. YouTube lurker first-time poster. If this is wrong, please tell me, but after several years I was advised to finally tell the story to people that aren't in my small town and know this absolutely entitled twat. Obligatory. This happened years ago but still followed me for ages after. TLDR. My stepmother blamed 11 years old me for her getting in trouble while I was having a seizure, and even after being no contact with her for 6 years she still wants to talk to me while I suffer with medical issues because her conscience is killing her somehow. I, 24F, am a child of divorce. My biological parents split when I was 4 years old. My mother started dating again when I was 7 to a wonderful man, and I love him to death, but my absolute idiot of a father dated several women between the time I was 4 to 8. Half of that time he was in and out of my life as it was, but that's not what this is about. This is about his last girlfriend / his wife prior to his death. My stepmother, whom I unaffectionately call my ex-stepbitch, SB, walked into my life after she met my dad, while she was in a woman's rehab group in my hometown where my dad and his Christian rock band played. Very Bible Belt area of the southern US. I always had an issue with the women / girls that walked into my life because of bullying due to my absolutely insane name that this man gave me, as well as his first girlfriend after leaving my mother, abusing me and my little sister when we were very young. Not to mention that the reason he and my mother divorced was because he was constantly on drugs, so I was very aware of what her rehab group was, for which made my skepticism even worse. She showed up one day when I was 8.5. I remember because it was summer and my birthday was in January. It was my dad's week, 50-50 custody, and dad was going to take me and my sister to our uncle's house to go swimming, but we were waiting for SB. It was that day that dad told me and my, at the time, 7-year-old sister that they were dating and had been for 3 months without saying anything to us. For minor context, my dad screamed at my mom for not telling her that she was dating someone, so there were issues in that for me. I distinctly remember looking at my dad, then at SB, then back at dad, and her again until I pointed at her and told my dad, "She's going to do something bad." This was the beginning of our dynamic. Fast forward to not only my dad getting married to this woman, but me being used by her as a test subject for her psychology degree. She never finished this, by the way. I was 11 at this time and playing in my bedroom with my sister and cousin waiting for lunch after church on Super Bowl Sunday of 2012. My sister and cousin were on the computer that was in my room because we didn't have enough TVs. They were playing Movie Star Planet, which was all the rage at the time, and were using the camera feature. When the flash went off, I started to feel funny, to say the least. So much so that I started seeing red dots everywhere. I told the two of them, and my cousin made the joke that I was about to have a seizure. And to my surprise, he was right. Now this next part one don't have much memory of, other than stories from my sister, cousin and dad telling me after I came to. Apparently the two of them ran downstairs to get a drink, leaving me on the bed until my dad came upstairs to get me for lunch. Apparently I was having a full grand mal seizure out of nowhere, and my dad did everything he could think of to keep me from hurting myself while calling 911. I remember waking up a little in the ambulance and my dad telling me I was okay and I should go back to sleep, which I did. Next I knew I heard noises, one of those being, "Touchdown Patriots," and my dad cheering. The first thing I said after waking up was asking if he was watching the Super Bowl without me. That's when the room exploded. It was the first time since I was very young that my mom and dad were in the same room and not screaming at each other. Not the last, but that's a different story. I remember looking around after my eyes adjusted to see I was in a white room, a hospital room, still in my church dress that I was going to change out of after lunch and before the game. My mom and dad called the doctor back in to check on me, and I was scheduled for so many different appointments after that, including a sudden re-entry to the hospital because we found out I was allergic to the seizure med they gave me while I was unconscious. This part was told to me years later by my mother when I was about 17. Apparently while I was passed out and getting tests done, SB, instead of checking on me, called our pastor to pray over me. He was a good man, but I now have nothing to do with the Christian faith because of SB and my dad. But because it was a smaller hospital and involved a child, it was only direct family allowed inside the room with me. SB told the hospital staff that she was my biological mother. We look nothing alike, and she was 28 while I was 11. When my real mom showed up, the pastor who was outside the room told her it was family only, and when she told him that she was my mother, and thankfully one of the new nurses that showed up was a friend of my mom's, she was let in and SB was kicked out. From what I'm told, SB got yelled at by our pastor for lying to him about my mother not having anything to do with me or my sister, when in fact she was very involved in our lives. Hell, I was supposed to go to her house that day after she got off work, which was conveniently right after the Super Bowl. Anyway, after I was released from the hospital and my mom took me home to her house, things were okay. I was off school for a week because the seizure came out of nowhere, and my primary wanted to have me come in every other day for checkups just in case. Things changed, however, when I went back to my dad's. I had gotten off school after my first day back, and while I'm doing my chores, which was washing dishes that day, SB came into the kitchen, while my dad was in their bedroom playing World of Warcraft, and told me that it was all my fault that the church is mad at her and she hated me for it. Again. I'm 11 and this 28-year-old woman is blaming me for her getting in trouble with a man she lied to. Not to mention that she and my dad would tell me anytime I was sick after the seizure it was all in my head. Or, you're overreacting, your pain can't be hospital level. My dad was a Navy veteran, so he always used that line whenever I was hurting, not realizing that medication I had been taking for years made my pain tolerance severely low. Ironically though, they were sort of right, explained further down. Since that day we absolutely despised each other to the point that no matter what I did I was getting Bible thumped. Even going so far as to make me late for an assignment for my freshman English class in high school because I made the mistake of claiming Greek mythology made more sense to me than the Bible. This still holds true to this day. I'm a practicing Norse pagan / moon Wiccan. She even got so insecure about my blatant hatred of her that she asked me to show her my messages between me and my counselor that I was assigned because of dual suicide attempts. I was 14 at that time, and even I, someone who at the time was studying forensic science and had an unhealthy obsession with criminal minds and law and order, knew that was illegal as hell and told my counselor about it at our next session. That nonsense got shut down very fast. Thankfully, she's been mostly out of my life since I was 17 when my father died of a drug overdose / withdrawal-induced heart attack. She and my father had apparently been on drugs again, big shocker and a personal I told you so on my part, and subjecting me and my sister to the fumes which made me violently ill for several months, and we didn't know why until Dad passed. The last time I saw her was 6 months after he died when I turned 18 and I got the one thing of my dad's that I wanted, which was a 12-string electric guitar, big music family. However, that wasn't the last time she tried to make contact with me. Recently, while I was in college already stressed out because of more health issues that stemmed from the seizure incident coming up and the sudden death of one of my dad's 4 sons, SB started to spam my Facebook Messenger asking how I was doing, if school was going good, all this kind shit, only to yell at me for coming out as a demigirl, semi-non-binary that leans towards the feminine side. I was using they/them at the time, and she called me an abomination, which was strange because I didn't tell her or anyone else about this outside my college friends who were on the other side of the country from where she was back in my home state. Apparently my one brother who still has contact with her for some reason told her about me asking to be called sibling on our brother's obituary, thinking I still talk to this woman like my sister did occasionally. He was fully aware I hated her with a burning passion, but not exactly why. I'm not close with any of my brothers for various reasons, but that's beside the point. SB was tormenting me over the phone while I was studying for finals before returning home to get medical tests done. Come to find out I have epilepsy, autism, and a vein malformation in my brain that nobody cared to check after my seizure because the neurologist I saw in my home state at the time was an idiot and claimed I had the seizure due to low blood sugar, which come to find out is a massive side effect of the epilepsy and the malformation. I do have a blood sugar issue, but when I sees it gets dangerously low due to a plethora of other issues hormone and chemical-wise in my messed up body. I now have to go to the capital of my home state after dropping out of college because of insurance issues and have a consultation with a neurosurgeon to see if they're going to put me through radiation or just cut the malformation out of my brain. I went to Facebook in order to warn anyone on either side of my family since my epilepsy was genetic and I'm the first to have it on either side, as well as update my cousins who I still have contact with in that part of the state if they wanted to visit. SB fucking commented saying I should go see her instead. And nearly screamed. I was so mad that she was still acting all lovey-dovey to me, but thankfully my boyfriend was able to calm me down enough not to do something stupid and commented himself that if any of my family wanted to stay in contact with me, they will keep SB away from any information on my location in life. So far only my uncle, my dad's last living sibling, and his sons are the only ones who still keep regular contact with me or my sister from my dad's side. I have little contact with my mom's family my entire life other than one of my 2 brothers on her side. I have my fingers crossed that the situation gets better before I lose my whole mind, but I have a feeling she won't come anywhere near me or our hometown because of how many bridges she's burnt here by hurting me and my sister. Small town, lots of motorcycle bikers who happen to be family to us. I apologize for how long this is, I just had to rant. She's been ruining my life on and off since I was a kid, and I hope with this, I can now have some peace away from her while I deal with everything. I am eternally grateful to my boyfriend for keeping me sane during all this stuff, as well as my younger sister and stepdad who have been helping me with appointments and paying for my medication while I work on getting my disability processed. Edit. Hey everyone, thanks for all your kind replies, and suggest this is my first big post outside the Obey Me and Twisted Wonderland subreddits. So again, thank you all. I said this in the comments, but for those who haven't seen. 1. SB is blocked and my family that are in contact with her are not in the loop on me in general because of distancing me and my sister from the family after my sperm donor died. My uncle is checking in with me regularly since he's a friend with my boyfriend's neighbor, so we see each other a lot more than we did just after Dad died. He's been the one fielding questions for me as well as his younger son who I've been close with since I was a baby. 2. I appreciate everyone who has been telling their epilepsy journey stories. It's been very helpful knowing that I'm not alone in this. It's scary for me since I've never had surgery or anything like this in my whole life. I still have my tonsils, wisdom teeth ECT, and with both my bio parents gone, I'm afraid. But thankfully, I have an approximate timeline for my surgery, which is not until maybe August. By that time, I should be moving in with my boyfriend, and with his parents being just down the road and will have retired by then, I'll have someone who can keep an eye on me while he's at work. All in all, things are getting better and I'm grateful. I'm super excited for later in March. It's getting warmer here in Arkansas, where I'm from, so it's perfect motorcycle weather, and I got to go on my first bike ride of the year the other day with the BF, and it was magical. I'll get to go on my first full rally ride at the end of March, and I'm uber excited. Let's just hope I don't have to run into another set of entitled angry parents to be who I haven't talked to in years. This is a reference to my ex, who is an utter douche, and his parents. The stories I could tell about them, face with rolling eyes. Anyway, thanks everyone, and I wish you all the best and all the internet hugs. Also, if you're in NEA, come by the Angel Run on March 29th.